Hello everyone, welcome back to my shed. I'm BC. I'm trying out a few new things today. I've had a lot of requests over the last year or so of getting a few close-ups in on the grinding action. It's always very difficult to crawl over the blade tripod and camcorder and leads, etc. Get the lights in the way and not be dangerous in what I'm doing. And I like to keep all of these. I've been very attached to them for quite a few years, 68 of them so far. I think I might have got the solution. I picked up a little gadget that I put on the last video, this clamp and camera mount, which is fabulous, and I can now film off a magnetic dial indicator base. This should be up on the table, I hope, to get it very close to the action. I don't know whether it'll be via the camcorder or via the GoPro. I don't know what the depth of field will be like, or even if it will be able to focus. And that's something, if you're up very close, you're changing the object distance by 50 or 60%, maybe more, and trying to get the thing to autofocus while doing that and while making the video might not be the easiest. Whether I clamp it onto the machine table or clamp it onto a machine nearby or onto part of the machine, I'll have to experiment. So I apologise if some of the video is not fabulous, but I'm trying to make it just that little bit better. I'm determined in the new year to make similar to a studio camera stand, something heavy on the floor, a piece of 1.5 inch tube upright with a cross arm and a boom that I can put the camera on. That way the camera stand can be out here where I am and the camera can be overhead looking down on the work without the tripod legs and all the things that trip me up at the moment. It's been very difficult to get good video and be reasonably safe and not wreck the equipment. My poor old JVC camcorder that you're watching now has had some horrible falls on the tripod. How the hell it survived, I don't know. It's not an action cam, but it still makes a reasonable video. So today, I'll zoom around to the bench shortly. You'll see some of the cutters that we'll be grinding today. I'll try and get up close enough to show you the damage on the cutting edge. Get a little bit of action with the fabulous high performance grinding wheel of as of yet unknown service life. And we'll be back onto the form relief grinder to grind 3 countersinks. I had a fellow ask me could I do a bit more video on that. He's got a manually operated grinder. Mine's powered, but the mechanism is roughly the same, except he only has the radial axis when mine has longitudinal axis as well. So I get compound form relief here, you can only get single form relief. So I'll turn the camcorder off and then try to set up on the cutters and then over on the job. Back soon. Back again, and I think this is about as much telephoto as I can zoom in and still keep focus. It's about as good as I can set it up with the prop, but if you have a look just there, you can see that there's a line just behind the cutting edge, and if you can see that line, the cutter's blunt. If it's sharp enough, you can't delineate between the cutting edge and the clearance area, so that requires a little bit of a touch-up. It's a Holmaker brand countersink, and from my experience, they're not a bad brand. They're reasonably hard, material is good, you get a good surface life, so they seem to give you a little bit of value for money. Now, and he's also pulled them out of service before they got badly damaged. Now we'll come across to the other cutter. This is an annular cutter, tool shop special. They're taking all of my sales because they're half the price, and I think this has done about 12 holes. Nice big rounded over edge. I haven't sharpened this one before because it's alternating 2 facet, single facet, one inside, one outside. The grinding is higgledy-piggledy, but I suppose that gets them away from the patents. And when explaining this in a previous video just a few weeks ago, I had a comment, blah blah blah, come up on the screen. Well, if you don't bloody well like what I put up, change the damn channel, because I don't give a rat's behind. So I'll have to gullet this down a little bit, or I might try with that, depends on how deep it is, as I've got to remove probably about 3mm to get equal facet both ways. But I'll have a little bit of a look after I wipe the swarf off and see what I do, and then we'll mount the cutters up in the grinders. So I'll try and get better focus later. Bye for now. Okay guys, we're back on the action. I'm trying to get the best picture possible. You can see the cutting edge just going over the edge of the grinding wheel, and that allows me to grind clearance on the inside edge of the cutter down into the hollow space inside it, and the wheel is escaping into the gullet. I hope that's a reasonable explanation, but this is probably the best shot. I've turned the machine halogen light off and I'm just using a machine LED light. Now I'll back it out. I'll start grinding on the next teeth, which are highest on the inside because they'll be the first to contact. Now I'll start the grinder up and try and engage it. Hopefully the magnetic base won't fall off the machine table. This is a bit of a dodgy setup, but let's give it a go. The shaper Andy would say, let's go for it. Oh, we've only got 2 phases by the sound of that. There's one thing you can say about cheap 3-phase plugs, they're only 2-phase. Okay, bring the cutter in, gradually grind the table across. That should have been wind the table across. And index around. It's only every second tooth that's going to get cut at the moment. Alright, put a bit more on. We still haven't got the next tooth. This wheel is really free cutting. Ah, there we are, we're at the same height now. So a bit more feed in. Oh, and there's the mobile phone. Back later on. My kids are really savvy. Whenever they hear the phase converter come on, they give me a call. Okay, we'll try and get back into this. Put the grinder back on. Oh, we've got 3 phases back. That's good. Then we'll go around the cutter yet again. I don't know if you can see it the same as me, but that grinding wheel is just so sharp, it's unbelievable. Well, I hope that gives a bit better of an explanation of how the grinding operation goes on. And it's about as close as I've been able to get in on the cutter without disturbing what I'm doing. So I'll turn the camera off now, and later on when I'm sharpening the countersinks I'll set it up again. Bye for now. Well, I hope you can see the shine off the clearance areas on that cutter as well as I can. This high performance grinding wheel not only cuts very, very freely, but it brings up an almost polished surface. It's good value for money so far. We'll find out what the life is like in the future. Back again when the countersinks are up. Well, here we are back on the old Serbian tool and cutter grinder, or Astra, whatever you want to call it. I've set up the Royal Oak Universal Form Relief grinding fixture. You can see the pecking action of it there, and after we do the grinding I'll try and take a few action shots of the cam mechanism working. It really is a piece of brilliant machinery. So we'll take it in after infeeding about 1 thou at a time. Okay, we'll take a 1 thou. No, nothing yet. This is a slow progress for me. I'm a bit of a sook, only because this is a fairly rigid setup.
Oh, here we are. We've just registered. Another out. And another one in. I usually finish up with about 1.5 hours lack of concentricity here. I'm using the 6-jaw chuck because the collets are pretty well all flopped out, and they're a very proprietary Royal Oak collet, and I only want the price of a new car for each of them. Now if you look at the clearance areas, you can see one area comes around with just a shiny flank at the trailing edge. That means it's cutting accurately. Right, we've got a second float grinding now. Should pick up the third very shortly. There you are. And I've got to say, the Yanks make some beautiful grinding equipment. This attachment's probably only about 10 years younger than me. God knows how many thousands of cutters it's made, or reground rather. I'm using the Lavalier microphone here, so it'll be interesting to see how it changes the audio. And pretty soon I'll be using my separate audio recorder. This old grinding wheel has been on this machine ever since I got it. Ever since I got the relief attachment. This was the first turner cutter grinder that we used for annular cutters. And the first fixture we had on it was an air bearing fixture, which was suitable for the job, but I just time consuming to use. Very difficult to adjust the angle for the individual phases. The wheel I'm using here is a 46 grit wheel, not a 60. And it just shows you how the grit number of the wheel doesn't change the finish all that much. It's the amount that you impinge on the job. I take it very easy when grinding these countersinks because, man, they can get hot. And when they get hot, they just don't grind well. Surprising how much difference it makes. Two of the faces are cleaned up, so there'll just be a couple more now to get the third ground right up. And when I finish this operation, I usually check to see if there is a burr formed on the front of the cutting edge, and I use a 320 grit slipstone to clean that up if necessary. Surprisingly, you can get that burr even on very good quality cutters. You can see just a little bit remaining on that third tooth. Bring it all the way in. Still not yet. Let's finish the job. You just spark it out a little bit. Okay, I'll kill the grinding wheel and bring you around for a look at the mechanism. Sorry, this will be offhand. It mightn't be all that stable. You can see the workhead pecking forward. Here's the cam mechanism onto the ratiometer or the sharing lever, and as this cam pulls out, it pushes the lever in that direction, and you can see the body moving that way, and there's an adjustment down the base there. I've cancelled the radial movement by stiffening up the rubber block that supports the rollers inside. So although it's trying to work as a dual action, it's only ever working in the horizontal direction. So it's axial rake only, not radial rake. Well built piece of machinery, solid cast iron, an old DC motor working off a 115 volt American transformer. It is just an absolute Brutus of a piece of equipment. Okay, all for now.